What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. We have almost made it to the end of the week. We have almost made it to the weekend, and we have our final injury report of the week for the Seahawks and the Cardinals. So we now have a much better idea of what we're going to be dealing with come game day. Although, honestly, not as good an idea as we usually do when it comes to these things. Usually it's pretty dang concrete. That's not really what we're dealing with here right now. This isn't all that concrete. A lot of questions still to be answered over the next couple of days. And realistically, there's some stuff we're probably just not going to have a good feel for until the inactives list is announced right before the game starts. So Condota has the full list here. Let's go ahead and take a look at what he has on the report. Um, the game status is actually pretty dang simple. No Seahawks players are listed as out. No players are listed as doubtful. We have 5 players listed as questionable. And typically speaking, when a player is listed as questionable, they're probably going to play because probable is no longer a designation that you can make. So I look at this and I go, we're going to have most of these guys. Probably not all of them, but most of them. So things did clear up as the week went on. However, I do have to note the kind of inconsistencies between this report and the practice report that we got a little bit ago. So let's go one by one here and take a look. Zach Charbonnet is listed as questionable. However, he didn't practice at all this week. He was another DNP on Friday, so that's 0 practice time for Charbonnet this week, at least. I mean, obviously there's some stuff going on in walkthroughs, but I mean in terms of actual practice time, didn't go at all. And generally speaking, if you do not practice during the week, it's hard for you to play. So honestly, I know they're listing Charbonnet as questionable, and I know he's a running back, and it's probably a little easier for those guys to just go. I kind of feel like he's not playing this week, so I feel like we're not getting Charbonnet. So start Ken Walker in fantasy, I guess, because we may be putting a pretty big load on his shoulders. But kind of interesting that he's questionable at all, given the fact that he missed 3 straight practices. We'll just have to wait until the inactives list, I guess. Also questionable is Jake Curhan. Jake Curhan was limited in practice today. I do think he'll play. He's obviously not going to be himself. He's going to be very similar to the Jake Curhan we had against the Bengals, which is not going to excite people. I understand that, but realistically, right now we need him because I don't know if we're going to be able to count on anything from Jason Peters. So he was able to practice twice this week, even in a limited form. So I'm pretty sure he'll at least be active for the game. Hopefully he can hold it together. Hopefully he can at least provide some help as a run blocker. And that's all I can say. DK Metcalf also listed as questionable. He was limited in practice today. I'd be very surprised if he missed this game. I'm going to continue to hold to that. I know they technically have to list him a certain way because he is injured, but the fact that he was able to go back into that Bengals game and make plays, make catches, tells me that he should be good to go. So I'd be very surprised if he missed this game. DK Metcalf is a lot of things, some things that fans don't like, but one thing that we should like about him is that he's very tough. He's a tough player, and I don't think he's going to let minor injuries like what's going on with him right now, which, don't get me wrong, they exist. They are injuries. They're not the severe injuries of a player that is typically held out, but they're hurting him. I don't think that's going to keep him out of the game, so I'm not too worried about that. Also, we got some good news on Evan Brown. He is questionable. He practiced a little bit today. So at the very least, he's got a little bit of momentum going into the weekend. We need Evan Brown. I'm happy to hear that he's probably going to play in this game. If I had to guess, I would say he's going to be good to go. So that clears up most of the offensive line stuff because, as you guys can see, Charles Cross was a full participant today. He's not listed as questionable. He's not listed as anything. Damian Lewis, not listed as anything. So the left side of the line is clear as you can be. The right side of the line, well, Curhan looks like he'll be okay, and Evan Brown looks like he'll be okay. So for 4 of the 5 spots, it at least cleared up. The main concern that I have right now on the offensive line would be Phil Haynes, because he did not practice on Friday again. He is listed as questionable. That kind of makes me feel like he's not playing, because he practiced on Wednesday, and then he missed practice on Thursday and Friday. That tells me something got worse or something new happened. So Phil Haynes, If I had to guess, Charbonnet and Haynes do not play. Curhan, Brown, and Metcalf play. That would be my guess. I'm obviously working with a relatively limited amount of information, but that would be my assumption at this point in time. So there was some other kind of interesting stuff on this practice report. Lockett did not participate. Now he's a veteran, but they don't list him as a not injury related rusting player. They list him with a hamstring injury, but they also have no doubt that he's going to play. So it probably is a rest day, even though they don't explicitly state it as such. Trey Brown did not practice with a toe injury, but there's no doubt in the minds of this team that he'll play. So that's good. And Jamal Adams, now he's just resting, but he was also held out of practice today, partially related to the knee. By the way, he ate a $50,000 fine today for something that happened in the Bengals game that I didn't even notice when it happened. So I guess it was something to do with Jake Bobo's concussion. Just kind of an interesting little side note there. And full participants were, like I said, Cross, Lewis, and Artie Burns. So Artie Burns is back. That's good news, I guess. He is probably going to be the first guy off the bench if something happens to one of our top three guys. So things did clear up somewhat, but the fact that we still have question marks with these five guys and that we're getting conflicting information from the practice report, I don't know. I still kind of feel like I'd like to fast forward to Sunday morning and see what the inactive list is. All right, so that is what is going on the Seahawks side of things. Pretty reasonable given where we were earlier this week. The fact that we are probably going to have four of our five offensive line starters, or well, if you count Abe Lucas, then three. So we're going to have the left side. It looks like we're just not going to have the right side. That's how I'm feeling right now. Let's jump over to the Cardinals side of things. We got this tweet from Weinfuss again. He's got the injury report for the Cardinals. Let's take a look here. It is largely as expected from yesterday, but it is significant. There's some stuff here that's really going to matter quite a bit. Antonio Hamilton, who's been maybe their best overall player on defense and is their number one cornerback, and I believe this is another guy who slides into the nickel corner spot when they go when they need a nickel corner on the field, is out. He didn't practice all week. Kyler Murray, we knew this. He's out. The team didn't pretend that there was any chance of him being able to play. So that's not unexpected. Jalen Thompson, who's actually been getting a decent amount of playing time this year so far because partially Buda Baker's been out, is out with a hamstring injury. And Elijah Wilkinson, who showed up with a neck injury on Thursday, that has increased in severity to the point where he is now listed as out. And Elijah Wilkinson's not a good player, but he was a starter for them. So they're going to be calling on a backup guard to take his place. So that offensive line, which is already kind of weak, gets even a little bit weaker. So pretty significant losses here. I don't know if Jalen Thompson was going to be a big part of their defense with Buda Baker potentially back, but you still would rather have him healthy because Baker's going to be making his first start in a month. You never know what could happen. So pretty significant stuff on the Cardinals side, maybe more significant than what we're dealing with right now, honestly. They have a slew of players listed as questionable. You've got Buda Baker. My understanding is that he's expected to play, though. So I expect to see him out there. And he might immediately, even coming off a month-long injury like he has, he might immediately be the best player on that defense, especially with Hamilton out. So if there's anybody on this defense you got to watch out for, it's probably Buda Baker. Expecting to see him on Sunday, expecting him to bring it because, hey, all these games are big for him. You know when he plays, especially in Seattle, he wants to bring it. Keitrell Clark, cornerback, they're a slot corner, although I think they actually have him playing outside this year, which surprises me. They're still using Hamilton in the slot. He was limited all week, but he is listed as questionable. I expect him to play. So far this year, it doesn't seem like he's playing especially well, but he was limited this week. So whatever little bit he's got going on might be even a little bit worse than we're used to. Zach Pascal didn't practice all week, but is listed as questionable. He's obviously a depth player for them on that receiver core. You've got a Kevin Strong listed as questionable after 2 straight limited practices, probably going to play. Garrett Williams remains questionable after missing full practice for 3 straight days. He has been limited all week, though, so he'll probably play. Josh Woods listed as questionable, one of their linebackers. And Kevin Beecham, Zaven Collins, and Jonathan Ledbetter are listed but do not have any kind of game status designation, so they're going to play. So this Cardinals team, a little bit beat up, probably more beat up than we are. And that's notable at this point in time because the Seahawks, as we all know, relatively beat up. But that's really all we got today. We're going to get a lot more illuminating information probably sometime Sunday morning, maybe late Saturday night. We're going to start hearing about some of these players like Buda Baker, probably sometime late tomorrow night. We're going to get the tweet from Adam Schefter, DK Metcalf expected to play, Buda Baker expected to play, Garrett Williams expected to play. You know, the stuff that happens late Saturday night or early Sunday morning sometimes. And yeah, that's what we got. Let me know what you guys think. That is the injury report for the week. And hopefully it's enough. See you guys later. Go Hawks.